So resilience is really the ability to bounce back from a hardship.
Yeah.
Which means if you want to have a picture, I like to always take the rubber band. Just imagine, you know, that you're the rubber band, and if you're being stretched, if you can go back quickly, back to your, what researchers call baseline, then you have a high resilience. But this is something that very few of us are born with, because usually when life throws us off, it takes us a while to go back. For some people, maybe never, because it is a trait that you have to practice. Here I'd like to share with you the concept of the 3 steps. So resilience is really built on 3 attitudes. And the first very basic attitude is something that we call inner calm. So inner calm is something that you can establish, for example, with a mindfulness practice. Some people are naturally calm, some people might be using journaling, but just this ability to have not a rough sea all the time, but to be able to go into the stillness that you mentioned, and to keep some sort of inner calm. Because when an obstacle comes or a hardship comes, when you're calm, you see things more clearly.
Yeah.
You can understand that, wow, that's something that's gonna overwhelm me. But I'm here, I'm seeing it, I'm ready to cope with it. If you're not calm inside, it will completely, you know, like a wave, it will throw you off. So exactly. Inner calm is step number 1, and this is something that you can learn through mindfulness, and I have to, you know, I'm teaching it, so this is what I know and I believe in.
But like a simile, if we want to say, like the inner calmness will help us surf the waves instead of, as you said, be crushed.
Emotional resilience. So whenever we're going through hardships, usually, how do we feel it? There are a lot of emotions coming up, right? And we feel those emotions in our bodies. And that's very important, because I think so many people do not realize that emotions are physiological responses.
Of course.
We feel it in our body. You feel the difference if you're scared or you're worried. It's just somewhere here, you know, or you remember the heat map that you were looking at, where people feel different emotions. So you need to get into your body. You need to feel what is going on, being able to just name the emotions that you're experiencing. So usually in a hardship, it will be, I'm scared, I'm worried, I feel uncertain, I feel helpless. Just being able to identify it in your body and just identify the emotion itself. And when you are able to do that, this is where we can do the switch. We can go from existential to experiential. Let me explain it. Existential emotions are when I say, I am scared. I am helpless. So I identify myself completely with that emotion, which makes it impossible for me to do something about it, because it's me, it's there. You know, like I'm filled with it. But if you go from this existential view to an experiential, you change your wording. You say, I experience
anger.
I'm experiencing helplessness.
Yes.
You know, I'm experiencing worry right now. And
I'm not the feeling.
Yes. And it's amazing. Your words change and the way you perceive it change. Because if I'm experiencing helplessness, I understand immediately it's something temporary. It will go away. And I can still breathe. I can do something about it. I can still live around it, because it's just one experience. And I could have many. And this is so important. The final step is something that Martin Seligman, who is like the father of positive psychology, he said that when it comes to resilience, there are people who are successfully managing it and people who are not that successfully managing it. And this comes down for him to something that he calls cognitive resilience. So that comes from, from our cognitive ability, and that he calls the explanatory style.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are hit by hardships, there are two ways to explain it. There is a pessimistic way and there's an optimistic way.
Yeah.
And those two ways revolve around three things. And the first thing is the personalization. So how much of a role do I play in this hardship? The pessimist will say, well, I am the failure. So he would take over whatever happened, like being fired,
blaming
losing a job.
Yes.
Yeah, let's say, losing a job. I think it's a good example. So the pessimist would say, I'm the failure. And it didn't work out for me. Like, it's me. It's just me. That's why I was fired. The optimist here would say, well, it's COVID-19.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that the optimist is blind to the issues,
the consequences. Yeah.
But the optimist will try to see it more realistic and not to take everything personally.
The blame, the blaming, the shaming kind of attitude.
Yes. Yeah, the optimist would say, maybe these are the circumstances. Yeah, maybe I'm a single man, and there are other people in the team that have kids. And so they had to let go of people because of COVID-19. And it's easier for me to find a new job than for someone, who has to raise a family. So they would say it's not necessarily personal. So this is the first of the three steps here. The second step is about permanence, so time. Is this hardship something that is just temporary, or is it something that is permanent? The pessimist will say, it's permanent. So I got fired and oh my God, the world is going under. I'm not sure I will ever find a new job. I'm unemployed, and it feels like they will be unemployed forever. The optimist will say, well, it's temporary. Things happen and it will go by. I find something else, it's going to be all right. And the third level of this explanatory style is about pervasiveness. So what is the scope of whatever's happening? The pessimist will say it applies to all areas of my life. I failed at this job. I failed at relationships. Nothing ever works out for me. Everything's just a catastrophe and life sucks. The optimist will say, well, okay, it happened here and, the situation and the job, and maybe anyhow, I wanted to look for a new opportunity. So it's okay. It happened here, but this is just
it's
not a coincidence, but it's not the end of the world, and the scope is rather small. It's just the job. I still have my family, I still have a wife, etc., etc. So you see the difference here. And again, it's very important for me to mention is that being an optimist doesn't mean that you are unrealistic and that you are not self-aware and it's impossible to give you feedback or constructive feedback. Being realist just means, or optimist, means just that you try to see it from a point of view that doesn't suffocate you. That doesn't,
in a way, accepting the reality that you cannot change.
And this is part of it, and to kind of make the best out of it. It doesn't mean, if the optimist was fired because he's not doing a good job,
he would not go party.
And the optimist will still say, you know what, I think I did a bad job. You know what, maybe, I should have worked better. Again, so it's not about just being so optimistic that you completely disregard anything negative in your life.